Good morning, class. Today we are going to learn a very important topic. And before we start, I would like to ask you questions like how we do the business purposes, what we do exactly for business. For example, when we manufacture a product, what we do trading, right? We trade with that product to earn money and to do business. Okay. So today we are going to learn a very important topic, which is trade. What are the different types of trade? What exactly is trade? So we will learn in detail. So what exactly trade? Trade is simply means buying and selling and exchange of goods. Okay. So basically when a trader purchases goods and sold to other traders or consumers at a profit, generally we buy those goods which are in demand or which are likely to find in the market. Sometimes they may get good margin on profit, but sometimes they may go in loss. Okay, for an example, we buy a product which is very much popular in, in the market, which is in the demand. Then we sell it to someone else, a trader, and we earn a profit. Sometimes we earn profit, and sometimes we also may go in loss. The producer builds the goods, then it transferred to the wholesaler, then it to the retailer, and finally reach to the consumer. So as we know, the first thing a good is manufactured in the factory, right? Then from the factory it goes to the wholesaler. Then from the wholesaler it goes to the retailer, the shops which are nearby to our house, and then finally we buy it from the retailer. Okay, traders act as an intermediaries between products, producer and consumer. So we are the consumers. When we buy a product, we consume a product, and there is a producer in the factory or in a whatever it may be company. They produce the goods and we are the consumers. So who are the traders? Traders are the intermediaries who act between producers and the consumers. Clear? So if anybody is having any doubt, can ask me. And the next topic which in trade is classification of trade. So what are the different types of trade we have, or the classification of trade? So trade we have understood is basically the transfer of goods and services, right? So there is an internal trade and foreign trade. Okay, what two types of trades? Internal trade and foreign trade. So internal trade means something must be internal, and foreign means something which deals with outside the country, right? So in internal, what comes? The wholesale trade and retail trade. What we understood from internal trade, wholesale trade when a wholesaler buys from the factory and the retailer buys from the wholesaler. And foreign trade means import, export, and interport. So what is import, export, and interport? We will further learn in little bit of detail. Okay, so far it's clear. So internal trade. Okay, so we have learned that there are two types of trade in internal trade: wholesale trade and retail trade. So it is also called home trade and consists of sales and exchange of products and services within the boundaries of a country. So as we have learned, internal means something inside the country boundaries. Okay, the payments involved in transaction are made in the nation's own currency directly or through banking system. So whenever we are telling about internal trade, the currency payment is of that country's nation's own currency. The movement of its goods is through internal transport system owned by the state government, central government, or by any private agencies. This internal trade is carried on the following basis: wholesale trade, when the wholesaler buys from the producer or factory, and then the retailer buys from the wholesaler, and we get it at the retail shop nearby our houses and offices or schools, we can say. So how this is getting transported by any state government or central government or private agencies vehicles. Wholesale trade. There are people who buy in bulk from producers and small quantities to retailers. The wholesaler served as a link between the producer or manufacturer of goods and the retail traders. Okay, the wholesaler is a link between the producer of or manufacturer of goods and the retail traders. So finally, when we buy anything from the local product shop or retail shop, how these retailers get? These retailers get from the wholesalers, and wholesalers get from the manufacturers. So wholesale traders are the link between the retail and the factory owners or manufacturers. Retail trade. Retailers are the trades who buy goods and from wholesalers and sometimes from producers and sell them to consumers. They usually operate in a retail shop and sells goods in small quantities. They keep a variety of items and for of daily use, right? So whatever they, when we go to a retail shop, we get the daily basic needs like Colgate, bread, biscuit, milk, curd, right? So these are, they buy in very small quantities, and mostly they use the products which are of everyday use. So retailer act as a link between wholesaler and the actual consumer. So between the wholesaler and final consumer, we can say when we consume a product, we become the final consumer. So retailer as a act as a link between them. So in pharmaceutical trade, for example, if we talk about medical shops, the chemist or druggist plays the role of a retailer. Thus, retailer chemist in an outlet for providing drugs or healthcare services to the patient. So in pharmaceutical industry, for example, there's a company called Sun Pharma which manufactures medicines, okay, which makes medicines, and this chemist shops or druggists play as a retailer. When we go to a medical shop, this retailers buy it from the manufacturers and sell it to us, the final consumer. The a retailer dispenses the description of the medical practitioner and sells medicine to a patient. Okay, so far it's clear. If anybody is having any doubt, can let me know. International trade and or foreign trade. So we we have understood internal trade, which means it is happening inside the country boundary, right? Nation's boundary. What will be international? First thing is it will be outside the country's boundary, nation's boundary. So international trade refers to exchange of goods and services in different countries, right? In simple words, it means the import and export of goods and services. Export means selling goods and services out of the country, while import means goods and services flowing into the country. International trade supports the world economy where price or demands and supply are affected by global events. The movement of goods is through international transport system, right? So we have understood this thing. It is from one country to another country, and basically this will be supply will be from will be from movement of through the international transport system, and this supports the world economy, right? There will be an import and export of trade products and services. Types of international trade. The first type is import trade, then we have export trade and interport. So what is import? Import means when we are purchasing goods and services from a foreign country. When we buy something from the another country is called import. And why we do that? Because we don't have a sufficient quantities or for at a competitive price in our own country. So we import certain things. For example, India imports 80 to 80% of crude oil requirements from countries like UAE and Venezuela. This is because this country possesses massive oil fields and are quite competent in exploring, processing, and transporting oil at an economical rate. So mostly we buy or we import crude oils for our country because we don't have sufficient production of this crude oils, and we have a massive requirement. But in these countries like UAE and Venezuela, there is a massive oil fields are there, so we transport these oils at a very economical rate from them. Similarly, UAE imports agriculture and apparel based products from India. So in UAE they have massive productions of oil, but they don't have agricultural products. So we they import agricultural products from us for because it is easier and cheaper to import this rather this to produce them in their own country. For them it is will be very difficult to produce the agricultural products, and it will be very easy to buy at a very affordable price from India. So they import. So we have understood import means to buying from foreign country is called import trade. Next, we have export trade. What is export trade? Quite like its import counterpart, right? Import means we are buying from other country. Then export will be opposite, means we are selling it to another international trade, which so quite like it's which relies on selling locally manufacturing goods and services countries. In theory, it is considered to be just the opposite of import, right? So whatever it will be import we have learned it, the opposite part will be of importing will be export. So export means we are basically selling our products and services to a different countries at the international borders. For example, India exports inorganic chemicals, oilseeds, raw ores, iron and steel, plastic, and dairy products to countries like China. In return, China exports electrical equipments, organic chemicals, silk, mineral fuels, and fertilizers to India. These goods are exchanged between both countries so they can make the most of their respective production capacities, right? So there are many items which we export to them, and there are many items which China exports to us, because we don't have that quantity in sufficient, or it may be little bit difficult for us to produce, and it is easy to get that product in a affordable rate. Interport Interport trade, in simple terms, is a specific form of international trade, comprises both import and export trade. Under this type, goods and services imported from one country so they can further be exported to another country. This is to say that the imported goods are not used for consumption or sale in the importing country. Instead, the importing country just adds some value to the goods before exporting them yet again. So here it's same like international trade, but here the country is not buying to use it, but to add something and again to sell it to someone else. For example, we will see if India imports rubber from Thailand, process it and re-export it to another country like Japan, it would be referred to as interport, right? So for example, here India is not consuming or using this rubber which is importing from Thailand, but they are processing it, making it something, adding something, and they are re-exporting it to countries like Japan, and it will be referred as interport trade. Okay, so most countries deal interport trade because of the following reasons. These are the reasons why some countries deal with interport trade: lack of access or direct connection between any two countries, and like there is no direct connections, so better processing of all logical facilities available with the third country, absence of trade agreement between two countries. If two countries are not allowed to trade, then this thing interport have to take place. No trade financing and banking facilities available in the importing country. If there is not any financial benefits of banking facilities there, then interport trade will take place. Advantages and disadvantages of international trade. So we will understand what are the advantages and disadvantages of international trade. First things, we will start with advantages. First thing is optimum user of natural resources. So whatever resources we have, we produce something from that resources, and best suited we can sell it out to them. So this makes the optimum use of natural resources. Availability of a wide variety of goods. It lets a country it import items which are not produced due to higher cost or other issues, like selling goods to foreign countries allow a nation to get rid of its excess production. For example, we have many of the items which we have in excess. So what we do, we get rid of it by selling it or by exporting it to other countries. Okay. Then specialization. Foreign trade results in specialization and promotes manufacturing of different products in different nations. Due to competitive advantages, goods can be produced at a relatively low cost, and this benefit all countries. Okay, foreign trades results in at a very competitive pricing. We will get increased efficiency since international trade is highly competitive. Produces in any country tries to make good quality products at low rates. This in turn boosts efficiency and benefits customer all over the world. So while international trade is taking place, people will make the best quality at the very affordable price, which will be very much helpful for the end consumer. So establishment of new industries and exchange of techniques and technology. For this export things, new countries will establish and they will learn new technology and make new goods, and so to for the betterment of the country for exporting that products. Understanding and cooperation between countries. Through global trade, people of different regions come in close contact with each other. As a result of understanding, cooperation and cordial relations tend to build up among nations at large. Okay, so this what this international trade do. This international trade help us to develop a sense of understanding and cooperation between countries. We deal with each other, we buy and sell. So the bonding and the cooperation between the countries gets at a becomes healthy. Foreign exchange, countries are able to earn valuable foreign exchange by exporting its goods to other countries. So when we sell it any product to another company, we get the foreign exchange, and it can purchase goods of its need from other countries. Cultural development is there. Different peoples come, different countries come in contact each other through international trade, okay, and which will help to develop cultural qualities. So far it's clear. These are all of the benefits or advantages of international trade. Now we will see the disadvantages. Impediment in the development of home industries. So international trade has an adverse effect on development of home industries, poses a threat to the survival of infant industries at home due to foreign competition and unrestricted imports. The upcoming industry in the country may collapse. Okay, so this will severely also affect the home industries, small industries, right? Because of the competition and there is no restrictions of imports. Economic dependence. The underdeveloped countries have to depend upon the developed ones for their economic development. Such reliance often leads to economic exploitation. For instance, most of the underdeveloped countries in Africa and Asia have been exploited by European countries. So, like for when there's a foreign trade, we get something we can trade or we can buy something from other countries. We don't act much or we don't take more effort rather than we just depend on that country, and this is in that cases that countries will exploit the underdeveloped countries. So misuse of natural resources. Excessive exports may cause the natural resources of a country in a shorter span. So to produce more and to sell more, there will be more use of natural resources in a very short time, and that it would have this will lead to the economic downfall of the country in the long run. Trade wars. International trade breeds rivalries among nations due to competition in the foreign market. This may eventually lead to wars and disturb world peace. Okay, so there are trade wars are there between among the nations also in the foreign market. So this can lead to war and disturb the peace. Effect on culture. What How it will affect the culture? There are many goods which are not suitable in accordance with our traditions. This import of these goods affect our culture. So very many of the goods which are not suitable for our culture, which when we import it from the different countries, it will affect the culture also. Shortage of goods in a country. To earn more profit, sometimes the trader prefer to sell the goods to other countries than in our own country. This results in shortage of goods within the country. For example, we have something when a trader or when a person who is selling the products to the other countries, and he will be interested more to selling it to other countries because to gain more profit, whether sometimes that product or service is required in our own country and but we have limited, but instead of giving it to us he will be supplying it to other country. So this is one of the disadvantage. So today in our topic we have learned about trade, we have learned about what is trade and what about the type classifications of trade. Then we have internal trade and external trade. What are the types of internal trade? What are the types of external trade? And what are the advantages and disadvantages of external trade? So I believe you have understood. If anybody have not understood any part of this lecture, then please let me know. We can have a summary again. We can revise it again. So thank you very much. You have an assignment to write advantages of the international trade. Okay, so we are ending up here, and if anybody is having any doubt, please let me know. Thank you very much.